Hello everyone, welcome back to GPVWC. Apologies about that. You've missed about 8 laps of the race, in which time Adam Maguire has been well and truly left in the dust. He pitted, as have most of the drivers on the track right now. But unlike some of the others, he was not able to get through the traffic as quickly, and he has been jumped now by both Daniel Stepkowski and Matthias Moos. So clearly, advantage to the Evolution Motorsport drivers. Thomas Harvey now comes into the pits. He was one of the last drivers who we were waiting for to make their pit stops. So the order you see now is roughly the order that is correct. We have Yannick Bock leading, followed by Leon Bock, then Daniel Stepkowski, Matthias Moos, and Sandeep Singh. Szymon, I can't yet see the broadcast room stream on Discord, so I hope that's not a big problem. I hope everything is going okay on the YouTube and everyone can see and hear me. And it's back. Good, fantastic. Okay. Some more updates. I'm afraid we've lost a couple of drivers while we've been away. Michi Hoyer had a crash at Radion, just seemed to lose control of his car and dink into the barriers. There's Stevens making a move on Masciuli after his pit stop. Also, Giordano Valeriano hit the back of Jan Dragoon and lost his front wing, but then didn't realise he'd lost it until the next time he went through Radion. And of course, when you try to go through Radion without a front wing, it doesn't go very well. So I'm afraid he is now also out of the race. And this race of attrition has left us with 18 cars remaining, and we're not even half the way through the race yet. So hopefully, everyone now keeps it cool, keeps it clean. If you finish this race, you have a very good chance of scoring points. It's a long one and a tricky one, and as we've already seen, there is a fair deal of attrition. Yannick is leading by 3 seconds, so he's built out his gap since he left us. Daniel Stepkowski is just behind Leon Bock at this point in time, and the top driver, who is yet to have made a pit stop, as the broadcast machine is showing everyone as having not made a pit stop, but in reality, Sandeep Singh is yet to stop, as is Philip Pushke. So Machin Winnick might actually, as Pushke, okay, so Singh is in the pits now. Winnick might actually be into the top 5 in the net order now, and considering that he is on hard tyres, might be able to use this stint to run even longer than some of the other drivers who pitted around him. Most of the drivers out there now are on hard tyres indeed. So Ryan, I know you haven't been watching this race while we've been away, but you've been having my updates, and now of course you can see the race that we've come back to. What do you notice? Machin Winnick's doing well, isn't he?
He is. The first thing that struck me was how many DNFs we've had while we've been away. It's a shame that we're now up to, what's that, 7 in total? It's a good 3.
Yeah, 7 or 8 if you count Poom, who failed to make the start.
Yes, 8 then in total. You've got a good chance of getting points even if you just finish at this rate. We're only lap 17 in, and we've only got 18 people left, which is a big shame. But yeah, Milek's he's doing what he has to do, just plucking away at the moment. Obviously, everyone on the hard tyres now, pretty much, apart from Pushka, who's still out on his original mediums. But yeah, he's just plucking away, and obviously he's pitted a lot later than everybody else as well. So we had a lot of earlier pitters than I was expecting. Like Maguire went in on, I think it was like 7. And so everything kind of like just went blurry for me. I didn't have any visibility. I didn't have live races up. That's my own fault.
That's okay.
So I've been trying to keep up with what you've been saying. But yeah, it's I thought it had all settled down, but that first pit stop seems to have shaken it up a little bit.
They did come in quite early. I'm not expecting anyone to set up for a 3-stop strategy like we saw a few of in Hungary. I think that the pit windows are a little too small for that here, and instead we are just expecting long stints for a 2-stop strategy. The thing about that though is that, of course, we saw the first few pit stops coming in on lap 7 or so here. Whoa, big twitch from Adam Maguire there, massive save, good stuff from Adam. That's a corner that has been catching out a lot of people here today. Of course, as Dan Brewer's back in the pits, I'm afraid, having a torrid day. That was where Watt crashed, that's where Valeriano crashed, that's where Hoyer crashed. And Adam Maguire very nearly added himself to that list. It's treacherous up there, but anyway, he saves it. What was I literally just talking about? I do not know, but yes, two-stop strategies. At any other circuit, pitting on lap 7 here would be the equivalent to pitting on maybe lap 7 or 11. So it's not quite as radically early as it sounds, but it's still fairly early for a two-stop strategy. They're still going to have to extend these hard tyre stints for quite a long way, Ryan.
Yeah, I think personally I was expecting somewhere more around lap 9 for an undercut, lap 10 probably being the norm. But it hasn't, unless we missed something, it hasn't quite paid off for Maguire. He is a bit further down. He got jumped quite heavily, to be honest, if you look at the gap between himself and Laser Stokowski now. So yeah, it's we might have missed something there, which is unfortunate. I have no idea, but let's see what he can do for the rest of the race. He had some really good pace at the start. Yeah, he did get repassed by Leon, but you know, he still hacked his way through from 8th all the way up to 2nd in the first few laps. So.
He did indeed. Yeah, he got super held up. Adam Maguire, that is, got super held up in the pit stages. He's still the fastest driver on track in terms of fastest lap, but yeah, he just struggled so much to pass those back markers that his rivals carved through so quickly. Yellow flag out there somewhere. Oh no, I think it might be. It's someone in the top 10. It's Matching Winnick. Winnick's crashed. Winnick
No way.
I think at a
Oh
route.
my.
Matching Winnick has been off the road. And I think into the barriers. We're going to see a replay of it now. The championship leader. Oh, it has been a big one. Rouge Radion has been taking so many names today. He becomes the 4th driver to crash out heavily. And that is very nasty for Matching Winnick. And he landed on the road, so luckily no one else collected him there. But obviously, just the car's getting light over the crest, losing control, and it's claimed our championship leader, who was on course for a potential podium today if he played his cards right. Matching Winnick, what a disaster!
That was horrific. On his own as well. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's a bit more common if you're in like a 2 or 3 car slipstream. You obviously have less aero, but on his own, that is so unfortunate. He had the strategy right there in his hands. I can't believe it. That's thrown up not just this race, but the entire championship. That could be vital coming to the end of the year. It's already so close.
Indeed, we had a driver in FS1 the other day who went off at Radion as well, but today we've had 4. And it's a dangerous corner, but it's actually not that difficult. It's completely flat out. The only danger is that if something does go wrong there, it goes very wrong, because there's not much room for error, and you can hit the walls quite heavily there. Of course, in Formula 1 this year, there's going to be some upgrades to the circuit. The barriers have been pushed back further than you see them there, and there's a massive grandstand on the outside there now, which you can't see in this track model. I presume that next year's track model will be updated to reflect that, but anyway, for the time being, we still have the old super scary Rouge Radion layout. There's more gravel on the exit of some of these corners now as well, and as a result, the drivers have a little more runoff at some of these other corners in which to get away with some issues. But Rouge Radion claiming some big names here today, and it just shows you how lucky Adam Maguire was, because if he'd lost it in a similar way, then there's no way he would still be in this race right now, and there's no way that he would still be running 6th in the order. Sorry. Philip Prix is the last driver out there who hasn't stopped. He was one of the top drivers to start on the hard compound tyre. I think he's the last driver who hasn't stopped anyway, judging by the order. Thomas Harvey's gained a few places, but he did stop. He stopped about 4 laps ago now. So Harvey has just gained places strategically, and he's now right on the back of Adam Maguire, which is impressive considering that he started about, 20? Oh, he started 15th. But yes, up into 7th position and chasing down Adam Maguire, who was running 2nd earlier on in this race. And surely Pushke will pit soon, but he likes to have his time in the sun, doesn't he? Likes to run late on into his first stint and feature at the front of the order before having to drop back. He led the race at the Hungaroring, and then of course dropped back after making his pit stop. And yeah, speaking of pit stops, still needs to make one in this race. 21 laps in, nearly half the way through, and we've lost nearly half the grid. Not quite, but I was exaggerating a little, but it's been pretty chaotic here today, Ryan.
It's been crazy. I honestly didn't expect that many DNFs. This is a track that, like, 99% of people know really
what's happening to
well.
Maguire?
What is Maguire doing?
Maguire just pulled to the side and let 2 people through. That was weird. So through go Shepherd and Stevens. Does he feel?
Could it be one of the new cut tracks? Have you seen this new system with the new build with the cut tracks? You can give back time. So if he ran, and he's spun it, and he's going in the barrier. Oh, rear wing gone.
He's going to struggle to get back to the pits from there. Now here's a replay of what took place. Now this is where he gave up the positions. Now from my experience of the cut tracks, it doesn't give you slow down penalties or whatever like in iRacing, and he is now out of the race, I'm afraid to say. So it wouldn't have been a slowdown penalty. He may have been he didn't look to have cut any corners recently. I don't know what could have happened there, but Adam Maguire pulled to the side of the road, maybe felt that he had fouled those 2 drivers somehow, and then of course a few corners later had an accident all by himself. Here it is. Oh, the car just lost control. He wasn't even on the curb or the white line or the grass or anything. The car literally just broke away, as we've seen happening to a couple of people over the crest of Radion. We're gonna have to solve a few mysteries later, aren't we? That was strange.
Yeah, that was a really weird crash. But it didn't look like you got a new cut track. The new build does allow you to give back time and not get a cut track penalty. That's one of the new features. But you need to much quicker
than that. It's like instant. Oh, sorry, Harvey making a move on Pushki there, who's still yet to stop. But it's kind of instantaneous. It measures, from my experience anyway, it measures the amount of time that you gain when you run off the track, and then you kind of have to slow down as you're doing it, otherwise you're kind of automatically and instantly given a cut track penalty of some variety or a cut track warning.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really look like he cut anywhere, to be honest. In my opinion, it didn't look like he cut. It was a really weird, strange series of events. I'm not too sure what went on there.
I mean, his tyre didn't look good, did it? His front left didn't look good. But I don't think he had enough of a problem to be giving up places and coasting back to the pits. It's not like you can get punctures or whatever. So his car would still have been functioning at that point. And whatever happened later on in the lap, I can't help but feel that it was related. Whether he was distracted by what had just happened or not, I don't know. But yeah, we're going to have to piece together a few things after this race. His Shepherd on Pushki.
Going for a move.
Oh, getting muscled out a bit. Pushkin not giving him any room, despite these 2 not racing for position. And Pushkin maintains his 6th position, much to Shepherd's annoyance, I presume.
Yeah, it's allowed Harvey to sort of, check out, really. He's got 3+ seconds now on the rest. That pack that was once a 4-way pack has sort of split up a bit now. Indeed.
Now, I'm a little confused as to why Philip has stayed out this long. It's clear that he's going for a one-stop strategy, but it's still quite risky. Here's Tom Stevens now gaining advantage from all of that and going for it on Shepherd. Oh, I was hoping that Shepherd had seen him there, and I think he has. They're zontering it down into the chicane and wide and off the road and into the barriers goes Chris Shepherd. Shepherd loses his front wing, and after a kerfuffle with Pushkit and with Stevens, there's been an incident, Ryan.
It was messy from, let's be honest, probably all 3 drivers there. That's not something you want to be doing. I think Chris got a bit excited there. He probably should have just backed out of that one, and he just lost the rear a little bit. That's all it takes, just like that. The race over. But if he keeps his head down, there's only 16 people left in the race. He might still be able to bag a point or 2 come the end of the race.
And Stevens had to cut across the escape road, but he has maintained his position. He's not past Philip Pushkit, and more crucially, he hasn't lost his front wing either. So Tom Stevens has got off much better from that one. We are now over half the way through this race. Yannick Bock still leading from Leon Bock. The gap out to almost 5 seconds. Now it's about 4.5. And Daniel Stepkowski still on the tail of Leon, still within DRS range as they go down the straights. But he has been for a long time now and has not been able to make a move. So he's just going with him. And we'll see what he can do later on in the race. There's likely to be another pit window. Matthias Moos is close behind them as well. Here you see the three-way train for second place. Stepkowski didn't have his rear wing open that time, so he wasn't quite close enough. He's been on the bubble for a long time. Thomas Harvey is 5th. Then it is Philip Prischke and Tom Stevens, who we're seeing right now. Stevens is very likely to make a move here, and Prischke doesn't fight him too hard, knows that there's no way he's going to be able to fend him off down the Kemmel. And why should he, really? They're on different strategies. They're not really fighting for position here. Yanis Fulben is P8. Then it's Aris Masculi and Sandeep Singh, the top 10 in this one. And the rest of the points currently are taken up by Machete, Lalu, Dragoon, Brewer, and Fournier. Chris Shepard did make it back to the pits. He is still in this race, and if anything happens to a driver up in front of him, he could still score points as Jan Dragoon overtakes Janko-Pekka Lalu for P12.
Yeah, Chris just needs to not give up here. Points in this series make prizes at the end of the day. Red Archer are well in the fight for sort of 4th, 5th, 6th in the championship, so they need everything they can get, especially with the battle in their main rival is E-Team Hard, my team, and there's only I think 2 points between us. And obviously we've got Walk out the race, so they really need every point they can get from Matthias Muss as well, who is pitting as I say that.
Indeed, so Matthias Moos into the pits from 4th position, possibly triggers, or at least as a sign of the impending second pit window, and he goes on to another set of hards, which he will use to run to the end of the race. Still quite a long stint, but actually Spa-Francorchamps is not a particularly high tyre wear circuit, because there are plenty of straights which gives the tyres chance to cool down. And even though you do have some fast sweepers here, the G-forces aren't quite as high as you would see at some other circuits. So you can get away with running hard tyres for this long, and I expect that they will. Has to be careful not to give a place up to Tom Stevens for the time being, though.
That'd be awful.
Costa, and he twitches.
Big twitch.
Yeah, cold tyres, and he's very lucky Stevens wasn't a bit closer to him there. He could have lost the place, they could have collided, worst comes to worst. But anyway, maintains P5 in this race. There was a brief yellow flag. Luckily, Rouge Radion is completely clear, so nothing has happened up there this time around. And that is the first place I check whenever I see a yellow flag in this race. Understandably so, I'm sure. But anyway, up 25 out of 44 through this race. Apologies for the bouncing sound or the rattling sound you may have heard on my microphone a little while ago. Sometimes I fidget, and I was. Stepkowski into the pits. Okay, and Box in too, so Leon ahead of him is into the pits. 2nd and 3rd reacting to each other or anticipating each other. And they are about to make their pit stops, presumably for another set of hard tyres that will take them to the end of this race. Boxes. And goes on to, indeed, the hard tyres and comes out with exactly the same gap, pretty much, that he had before they came into the pits. So nothing has changed there. It may have been... Oh, and Moose splits them. So Moose jumps Stepkowski there. Matthias Moose, who was behind Daniel Stepkowski before the pit stop, has gained about a second or so in that one, and jumped Stepkowski. I was wondering, actually, would it have been beneficial from Daniel to have pitted on a different lap to Leon Bock? To try to either get the undercut or overcut, if possible. Because surely, if you come in on the same lap, unless you have an insanely quick pit stop, or your opponent has an issue, you're only going to keep the positions as they were, right?
Yeah, it seems like this season in general being quite strong on the undercut. So they just had to. I think he was more focused on reacting to Matthias, to be honest. And and you can kind of see why. That was one lap, and he's managed to just jump him like it was nothing really. But Matthias had to do it really. He had to go first. I'm not sure if he might have felt like he was stuck behind Daniel there, and clearly he's now got the fresh air to have a go himself at Bock and see what happens.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. Okie dokie. Oh, Bock's out! Leon Bock is out of the race! What's happened there?
Oh.
Leon Bock's car has suddenly disappeared from the circuit. I have a feeling it was a disconnection. I don't think that's a place where you would have had a crash. So Leon Bock, who was on course to potentially bring Evolution Motorsports a 1-2 finish, has disappeared from the road and has become yet another disconnection, and it was a disconnection. So we only have 15 cars remaining now. If you finish, you are guaranteed points, and Leon Bock will score no points from this one. You're about to see it, and any second, pop! There he goes. Complete magic trick. He is gone. Ryan, what do you make of that?
The story just develops. I mean, the race is just getting weirder and weirder by the lap. I really don't know what to say. That's so unfortunate for Leon. He was having a good run there, and he really cemented his place in second there. And
staying around the outside of Masculi, P7.
Yeah, good move by Sandeep as well. I mean, with a 35% engine to come, if he brought him P7, that'd be an unbelievable result for him.
He is a very good driver. Now, I'm probably not the only one who's been a little disappointed by the number of DNFs taking place recently, especially those caused by disconnections. There have been way too many, and they seem to happen to some big drivers. It's always such a shame to see, because there's nothing that the drivers can do about it. It happened to Leon as well in Silverstone. Remember, he was on course for a podium there. He would have scored 3 podiums in a row had he finished that one, and disappeared in much the same way as he has done today. Fabio Sixter, of course, simply cannot finish a race. He has not been in the server for any more than about 20 minutes at a time in his recent career, and it's absolutely gutting when it happens. There's not really much we can do about it, but hopefully rFactor gets their servers working a bit better, and we can have some fair racing sooner rather than later. Back to the race. We have 16 laps to go now, which doesn't sound like much, but actually still quite a large portion of the race remaining, due to this race having the fewest laps of any Grand Prix. Masculi and Machete are in the pits now, and Jan Dragoon goes up to 8th. If he was to finish there, it would be his first top 10 finish in GPVWC Super League, and even though it would come courtesy of the attrition, just finishing this race appears to be such a major achievement that it would be worth scoring points for. Leon Bock is back. Leon Bock has exited the pits. So rather than giving up when he disconnected, he has taken the noble and very bold approach of driving his car back onto the circuit and hoping that more drivers fall by the wayside, because then he could still score points. He is the first car a lap down, but that really does not matter, because there is still, believe it or not, a very real possibility of points here from Leon Bock, Ryan.
Yeah, I absolutely applaud him. It really, really frustrates me seeing people just give up when something happens like that, and he's not giving up. He's got a chance of points still, like a really good chance of points. The way people have been DNFing so far, honestly, I'd say it's probably a 60-70% chance he'll end up with at least 1 point, which is, it could just be 1 point that tips the championship,
Oh, wouldn't that be something? It was last year. It came down to the final lap of the race.
Yes.
So if it was to do the same this year, 1 point would not go amiss. Leon continuing on in the race, and he might as well go for fastest lap now if he feels like it, because that could give him 2 points. It's not like he's going to pass anyone, I'm afraid. There's not enough time left in the race for that to happen. So I think his best bet for points right now would just be to wait for something to happen and go for fastest lap. Meanwhile, Pushkit just got back up to P9 past Jukka-Pekka Lalu into the bus stop, which isn't really a bus stop at all. Thomas Harvey staying out on the road. He's about to be taken for the lead by Yannick Bock. And this is quite crucial, actually, because Harvey has been backing up Yannick Bock. The lead gap has been coming down significantly. And by the lead gap, I mean the gap between Bock and Moose here. Matthias Moose is flying. His last lap time was a 1:44.260. That's the fastest lap of the race so far. That was 2 laps ago, sorry, but he's been in the 1:44s consistently since his pit stop. And this is his best chance to win this race now. It's absolute hammer time for Matthias Moose. And with Yannick cooped up behind Thomas Harvey, we have a race for the lead all of a sudden.
I honestly did not even notice how much the gap had come down. It's unbelievable. Harvey, honestly, Matthias owes Harvey a pint for this, surely. That's crazy. I didn't, like, what?
Oh, but now they're going to split them, look. Because Bock's got past Harvey and Moose is going to have to do the same thing. So they're split now, unlike what they were before. But Moose will have the slipstream here. It may actually end up helping him, won't it? Okay.
Possibly.
But we'll see what happens with the DRS here. Of course, the difficulty is that Harvey is likely to also get DRS from Yannick Bock's car. And if that happens, which it will, then it's going to be even harder for Moose to get through. But Harvey did not get a good run through Radion. So Moose is going to go through easily peasily. And the gap now is 0.6 of a second, having been about 6 seconds.
That's an unbelievable effort from Matthias. That's really, really good.
And he's got 14 laps in order to change things now. 14 laps to get in front. His last lap time was a little hampered by having Harvey in front of him in the final sector, but not as hampered as Yannick Bock's. Yannick, that can't be right, can it? It says Yannick's last lap was 2 minutes. He hasn't
been off, has he?
I mean,
that would explain it.
Normally I'd say that would mean he'd made a pit stop on the last lap, but he made a pit stop longer ago than that. I'll take a quick look back, but anyway, we're currently watching Daniel Stepkowski now, who will attempt to follow through Thomas Harvey. Stepkowski also not out of this one yet. He has the hardest job of the three, of course, because he's got to catch them before he gets into the fight. But here he goes now to the outside. Now, Yannick did come in on that last lap, so I'm just thinking that it was longer ago than it was. Yeah, it was 2 laps ago now that he came into the pits. Yeah, I must have just not seen that. Sorry, I thought that I thought he'd pitted 4 or 5 laps ago. My apologies, but anyway, that's another reason that the gap has come down. Matthias Moose has taken advantage of the undercut to gain several seconds on Yannick Bock here. He's in DRS range, although a little too far back. Daniel Stepkowski has passed Thomas Harvey now. Tom Stevens might be on for a P4 at this rate. Wouldn't that be amazing? And Dan Brewer is into the pits for about the millionth time, I'm afraid. I'm sure this is his 4th pit stop at least.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Dan. Not the best qualifying from him, but typically he's not the best qualifier anyway, but he seems to really, really thrive in the races. As we see Philip Pushka going around the outside of
Jandra Green.
Yeah, Jandra Green. Good move. The Stacked Racing outfit having a good race today.
Indeed. And that's Maskili getting up past Jakubek Lali now. That's for P10. 30 laps completed now. Yannick Bock leads from Matthias Moose, but only just. And then it's Stepkowski, Harvey, Stevens, Volburn, Singh, Pushke, Dragoon, and Maskuli. With Maskuli just taking over that 10th position there, and Lalu dropping back. Moose has a job to hold on to Yannick Bock here, to keep within a second of him. He does not have DRS heading down towards turn 1 this time, so I think that after gaining on him in traffic and through the pit window, it might be time for Yannick to start stretching his legs again like he did before. Yannick doesn't have the fastest lap of the two, but he certainly does have plenty of pace. Matthias still with the fastest lap overall. There's Yannis Volburn into the pits once again. And yes, Matthias Moose, I'm afraid, did drop out of DRS range of Yannick Bock that time around, even on the Kemmel Straight. So it might be time now for Yannick to start pulling away once again. Jan Dragoon also into the pits now. Drops out of the top 10, so Jukka Pekalalo gets back in there, although he is probably going to stop very shortly as well. The later pit stops in the race coming in now, as drivers realise that their tyres aren't quite going to have the ability to get to the end. And out of these 16 drivers still on the circuit, any of them could score points. Most of them will. There's a move, and that is Fournier on Lalu, and Machete is going to follow him through. That would have been a good move if he'd made it stick. This could be a really good day for Green Stripes. They need some points, and Jan Dragoon is in a good position to get them potentially a top 10 finish here today. Ruben Machete, of course, also out there in the Green Stripes car.
Oh, yeah, yellow in sector 2.
As I say that, it looks as if Dan Brewer stopped. So Daniel Brewer, and he's not got a front wing. So that has been a violent end to his race, just as it was to his teammates. Both of the VBM esports drivers are out. And that means now that Leon Bock will score points today, providing he can get past where Brewer stopped. It was a collision with Jan Dragoon. So Brewer attempted to go around the outside, they locked wheels, and Brewer ended up spearing into the barriers. Dragoon got away later, but now we have both of the VBM cars completely done and dusted for the day. 15 cars remaining, 15 cars score points, and so long as Leon Bock can pass where Daniel Brewer stopped, he will claim the final point of this race.
I really can't believe that we're only down to 15 cars. This is a track that the majority of the guys know really, really well. A very uncharacteristic Super League race. It's been absolutely carnage. But yeah, shame. Matthias he's hanging on. He's just flirting around the DRS range, but hasn't quite got it. As we see Machete going for a move around the outside of Jukka Pekalalo. See if he gets it done. Hopefully not a repeat of what just happened with Dan Brewer. And he gets it done, nice and clean.
Gets through much nicer. Green Stripes are the final team in the Teams Championship right now. 15th. And could do with some better results here. Very much so. And if either of them could get a top 10 today, it would be just their second top 10 finish of the season. The first, of course, was delivered by Jan Grankvist earlier on when he made his single Super League start of the year in Bahrain. Here's Jannis Forburn running in P8, reeling in Philip Puschke, who's on course for his best result of the season. Most of the drivers out there are on course for their best results of the season, to be honest. Sandeep Singh, this would be his only Super League race of the year, but it would still be his best Super League result of all time. His previous best race, his only top 10 finish to date, was at the Singapore Grand Prix in 2015, where he finished 9th for Midnight Motorsport. And despite there being a big gap between his top 10 finishes, this would be his new personal best. Racing with the number 1 car must feel like quite a boost for Sandeep Singh, even though of course it was one of his teammates who earned that, Stefan Roth, by winning the championship last year. DRS now for Jannis Forburn as he approaches Philip Puschke, the alternate strategy running Philip Puschke. And has to back off for this particular lap. 10 laps to go now, Ryan.
Look at the gap between the top 2 again. It's come underneath that 1 second mark. It's weird. Matthias is going through spells of sort of catching, dropping back, catching, dropping back. So yeah,
Well, quicker in sector 2, but he does seem to struggle on the straights. The only trouble is that is where you have to overtake. And you're going to see it on the Camel. A couple of laps ago, I was watching them go down the Camel, and Bot gained about 7 or 8 tenths of a second. And and that's despite Moose having the slipstream. So you can imagine how much slower Moose's car actually is in a straight line, but Matthias really making up for it with his pure driving ability today. And as they escape the radio, watch the gap. Look at that, it comes out every time it updates.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Didn't seem to drop as much as he did when I previously watched him through there, but he has dropped out of DRS range again. Here's Vauban. Talking of DRS.
Pass as well to consider.
Yeah. We don't know if Moose was using that or not. Of course, the trouble with that, and the reason why I never seem to mention push to pass, is because we simply can't see when it's being used. So I feel like it's an unnecessary complication for us commentators, I'm afraid. But they do have push to pass. Sorry?
No, let's just make it up. Let's make a story.
Make it up. Well, Vauban will be on push to pass right now. Through he goes on Frelik push gear, up the inside with the DRS, and through he goes. P7 for Yanis Vauban now. But you're right, the lead gap has come down once again, as it tends to do at this point in the track. But I mean, it's come down on average the last few laps as well. Don't think it did that last time around. It stayed about the same. And I do really think that Matthias Moose may need to make a mistake here for something to actually change, or for Yannick Bloch, sorry, to make a mistake, for things to actually change in this race, because the place where you need to make the overtakes is the straight. And even if Matthias was to get past Yannick Bloch, there's a real chance that Yannick would just come flying straight back through again the next time they were on the Camel. He's not going to get DRS again, is he? So Matthias may be losing out even more this time around across the DRS activation line, and he does not activate it because he is not within range. Meanwhile, on Leon Bloch update, last lap he did overtake Dan Brewer's parked car, so Leon now just needs to be classified, and I think he's probably past the point in the race that you would need to pass to be classified. So I think we can safely say that everyone we're seeing out there right now is going to score points today. Matthias Moose running slightly over the white line, but not far enough for the game to register that. Sandeep Singh's on the back of Tom Stevens now. Imagine if Singh got a top 5 finish. Where did he start? 6th, sorry, 18th. Yes, he's 6th now. Started 18th in this race. He's up to P6. And the reigning champion stand-in, driving the best that he's potentially ever driven in Super League, despite having a slightly unfamiliar car. He's never done a full season of Super League, has Sandeep Singh. He's done a lot of different seasons of Super League. Made his debut at the Japanese Grand Prix in 2014, and ever since then has been making Super League starts, but the most he's ever done in a season was 7 starts in 2015, and there were 17 races that year, so he's never done a complete season of GPVWC Super League. Tends to focus on the lower ranks. He's won a few Formula Sprint 2 races, was second in the Formula Sprint 2 Championship in 2019. And his other real success came in the Vintage Series, which he was second in as well, although I'm bringing that up mainly, firstly, to make everyone nostalgic, and secondly, because he had a 100% winning record in that, making 2 of the 3 rounds and winning both of those. And earlier this season, he won his first Super Lights race at the Monaco circuit. And I expect he's about to take 5th position here, because he will have the slipstream, and he will have Tom Stevens in his sights. And through on the inside goes Sandeep Singh, up to what could potentially be his first ever Super League top 5 finish.
Yep, cracking move. Nice and clean, got it done before the corner. And he's on one. He's absolutely smashing it. I mean, he's doing a great job as a stand-in for Stefan. Got some pretty big shoes to fill, obviously running the number 1, as we also see Chris going around the outside. Yeah, move done. But yeah, Sandeep, I mean, he's a great guy. He deserves the result. Like you say, he's done a lot of stand-in races. He's done a couple of years in Super Lights now, formerly raced for my team as well in, what would that have been, 2020? Yeah, 2020. and he was always great then as well. He did a couple of standing races that year as well, and he's like a Hulkenberg. He's like #1 standing all the time for these teams. He always does a great job.
Indeed, yeah, plenty of starts, but never a full season. So, 6 laps to go in this race now. We are finally into the latter stages. There is Thomas Harvey running 4th in the one-off livery on the Holland Racing Team car. Thomas Harvey, who qualified poorly, came into this round 6th in the championship, although will likely take 5th place with this result. Of course, with Stefan Roll not being able to make this round due to some poor holiday timing through Brussels now. And there is Eros Masculi in the Musto car. Thomas Harvey has 3 podiums in the Super League now, all scored this season. It's been a real breakthrough season for Thomas. And his only win that I can see in GPWC came in Formula Sprint 2 at Silverstone in 2020. No, sorry, he won 2 races in Superlights last year. My apologies.
I was gonna say, I thought he'd won more races than that.
No, I missed that, sorry. Yeah, 2 races for TR Motorsports last year, finished 5th in the overall standings. But surely it's only a matter of time before he gets lucky and good. I mean, he's already good, but you need to be lucky as well. And wins a GPWC Super League race. Gerrit Fries commentating.
As well.
Indeed, Gerrit commenting that Sandeep is really crushing it with a poor engine in this race.
Yeah, 35% engine, which is, I mean, compared to everybody else, there was 1 or 2 people on around about 60%, I believe, but everyone else is pretty much 100%. Around here, that's got to be a few tenths at least in straights. So he's doing a great job.
Indeed, Eros Masculi must do GD Esports out of the final corner to start another lap into the final 5 laps of the race now. Hello to Daked 2 in the YouTube comments, also known of course as Alex Lowe, who does Formula Sprint 2 and sometimes has good battles with me, including the one that we had at this circuit actually last week. Jake Denahan saying only 15 people left. Yes, indeed. Absolute carnage here today in GPWC Super League, especially at the Eau Rouge Radiant complex of corners. That has been an absolute monster, just waiting to catch out unsuspecting drivers. Taketu saying, hi, that's me. Hi, Alex. Hope you're doing okay. Okie dokie. Lap 40 out of 44 now. We do officially have 5 laps remaining. Yannick still leading now by 1.5 seconds over Matthias, who is still sticking with him but doesn't have the pace to pass. There are the 2 leaders now. Matthias still with the fastest lap. They've been running a little slower over the last few laps, although that's to be expected later on in the race when your tyres are older than they otherwise would be. Still surprised we haven't seen Leon Bock coming in to try to set the fastest lap. He could double his points tally if he did so, because I'm absolutely convinced that he could get fastest lap in this race. And considering that he's not going to pass anyone, I really think that he should. If you finish in the top 15, of course, you are eligible for the fastest lap point, meaning that we are going to be giving out a point today for fastest lap. Quite often in Super League, we've seen it go to drivers who do finish outside of the top 15 or don't finish at all. And earlier this season, I think it was like the first 6 races or something, there just weren't any points given out for fastest lap whatsoever. Today there will be, and at the moment it looks like it's going to go to Matthias Moos, but yeah, I don't really know why Leon Bock hasn't launched his attempt at that just yet. maybe it
that he's in the pits.
hasn't crossed his mind. But yes, he does come into the pits now as we start talking about it. And I'm going to take complete responsibility for that and say that he is listening to our commentary. Good stuff, Leon. Go for softs. Yes, indeed. Soft tyres, red tyre walls on the Evolution car. And out onto the circuit he goes now. And surely for Leon, I mean, I don't want to jinx him, obviously, but surely he has the ability to set the fastest lap. His target is a 1:43.763 set by Matthias Moos, and considering that that was done on hard tyres and wasn't done with the fastest lap in mind, I expect that Leon is going to take it next lap or the lap after.
He's also come out just in front of the top 3, so he might. Well, hopefully he doesn't, because he'll have blue flags, but might play a little bit of a part in.
He better not.
Let's hope not.
Didn't one of the TCS off drivers get banned for that at the Austrian round of FS1 this year? I have a feeling someone got a. Oh, that was for crashing into the leads, I'm being told. Okay, so that's slightly different, but anyway.
Yeah, only.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Okay, RS Masculi. Careful of that curb there. We've seen how difficult Radion has been so far today. DRS wide open. Towards the chicane. Still struggling to get past Philip Pushkit. This would probably be Philip's first top 10 finish in quite a few years. Chris Shepherd still attempting to recover from his excursion earlier on, where he lost his front wing after collision with Tom Stevens. He could potentially be in the top 5 now if that hadn't happened, who knows. So this would be Philip's first top 10 finish since he won the Belgian Grand Prix in 2016. He's a 2-time winner of this Grand Prix. In fact, that's both times he competed it, because he didn't compete it in 2014. So up until today, Philip had a 100% winning record at this circuit. And who knows, maybe the top 7 could drop out.
Yeah, it's a shame. I like little cool records like that. It's like, even though I'm not a massive Hamilton fan, I want him to at least get a win this year, so he's winning every year that he's raced in. Because I think that's quite cool.
That would be cool.
Something I think
it's going to happen. I do think it's going to happen. Out of the final corner for another lap goes Philip Pushkit, but we are watching Matthias Moos. 2 seconds is the gap to Yannick Buck, or at least it was, but he's going to bring that down in the final sector. Masculi has now got Fournier for company, so it's a 3-way fight for 8th position. This could spice up the last few laps of this race. I mean, it is still pretty tense up in front. Like, Buck isn't that far ahead of Moos. If something goes wrong with Buck, Moos is still right there. Here comes Fournier and goes up into 9th position up the inside. Gets it done before the corner. There he goes. Also, Stepkowski, don't forget. Still right up there behind Matthias Moos. And appears to be gaining, although not quick enough to be hugely alarmed. Shepherd took a look at Ruben Machete and maintained his position. We're glancing through all of the various battles that are taking place in the final few laps of this race, and Leon Buck has now taken the fastest lap of the race, and Fournier and Pushkit are about to collide. Oh, they locked wheels in the mid part of Pouhon, and I don't quite know how they made it through there, but Fournier has pulled off an incredibly brave move. You don't see moves in Pouhon that often, although I did see one earlier on this race actually. And Jeffrey Fournier is up into P8 as we speak. Good stuff. And Stepkowski now does have DRS on Moose. And with Moose's straight line speed deficit, this may actually be closer than I thought it would be. I knew that Stepkowski was gaining, and of course now he has the advantage of the DRS as well. So we might have a fight in the podium positions.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see.
Well, you'd say that, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but equally, you know, Red Archer are good friends of mine, so I'd like to see both teams do well. But yeah, it was an interesting move by Jeff. Brave is probably not the word I'd use to describe it, but it's really interesting how along the back, like along the Camel Straight, sorry, the past 2 laps, nobody had a thing to say to Pushka. Like, he seems pretty quick down the straights. Let's see if
He
even with
is.
the RS, Masculi, he's not closing in as much as you'd expect.
Well, Philip's got the setup right, perfectly right here, because where you need the speed here is the straights. That's where you overtake, that's where you defend, and if someone can't outpace you on the straights, then they can't beat you. You know, they can't overtake you. So Philip Pushka acting as a little bit of a bottleneck there, or at least he was until Jeffrey Fournier forced the issue into Pouhon. Onto the final lap now goes the leader Yannick Bock, but we are watching the fight for P2 because this is the one most likely to change on this last lap here. And tense stuff it is as they head onto the straight. About 0.5 of a second is the gap, but will that be enough for Matthias Moos to hold off Daniel Stepkowski? They both make it through Radion, which is relieving in a race like this. He opens the DRS, he's going to get closer, there's a backmarker giving way, and through they go, and to the right-hand side goes Daniel Stepkowski, and he takes second place on the final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix. Great stuff.
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, if you'd asked me 10 laps ago, I was not expecting that. That was
Me neither.
a great move, nice and clean, got it done just in time for the corner, and yeah, cracking effort. If only he stayed out ahead of Muss, he might have had a chance at challenging Bock just a little bit more.
And Chris Shepherd just got past Ruben Machete. Now, the car that slowed and gave way to those leaders there was Leon Bock, not Yannick. So if anyone saw that and panicked, you don't have to. And Yannick is still leading this race on the final lap. But yeah, that would have been pretty tragic, wouldn't it? Eris Masculi might be about to have his final attempt at passing Philip Pushka. Has the DRS, goes to the outside, but there you see the importance of straight line speed as Philip Pushka holds him off, and Machete comes back at Chris Shepherd, and he will get 11th place for the time being. Meanwhile, Yannick Bock is in the final chicane. He comes through the final corner, and he's going to win at the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Great stuff from Yannick Bock, who will extend the championship lead today. Through into second goes Daniel Stepkowski. Then Matthias Moos will be third. So 2 of your favorite team driver outfits there, finishing second and third in this race, Ryan, and you have every right to be thrilled. Thomas Harvey is 4th. Sandeep Singh, the stand-in for 5th place there for Edge Esports. A fantastic drive from him, and this will be his best Super League result, despite not having done any of the other Super League races this year. Well done, Sandeep. Yannis Fulburn will be P6 in the Holland Racing Team car, so Holland Racing Team, despite a poor qualifying, have made up for it with a 4th and 6th. There's Tom Stevens getting his 3rd top 10 finish in a row, and into the final chicane, Masculi cuts it, so he's going to have to give the place up to Pushka, which he does. Yes, so Pushka will be P9, Masculi will be P10, despite the fact they had a little bit of a kerfuffle into the chicane on the last lap. 11th was Ruben Machete, then it was Chris Shepherd who got past there on the final lap of the race. Jukka Lalu P13, then Jan Dragoon and Leon Bock. So both of the green stripes in the points just by finishing the race. That's what they needed to do. And the final point goes the way of Leon Bock, who gained it purely by not giving up and not DNFing when the game seemed to want him to do so. And he'll actually come away with 2 points from that race rather than 1 point, because he did indeed claim the fastest lap. There you see the order once again. And the only thing you'll really learn from this order is who DNF'd, because my goodness did we have a lot of DNFs. Daniel Brewer, Adam Maguire, Maciej Winnick, Giordano Valeriano, Michi Hoyer, Augustine Canapino, Fabio Sixter, Alessandro Quinte, Robin Pansar, Tomasz Bock, and Hygo Poom. Yes, those were all DNFs. Fantastic unreliability in this race. And it did mean that we had 12 retirements if you count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We had 11 retirements if you count Hygo Poom, who went out on the formation lap. Amazing stuff here, and only 15 finishes. Yep,
Just think about it, Kaelin. If we did that race and kept our nose clean, even if we drove really slow, we would have had.
We could have scored points. We could have done.
We could have scored points. All we had to do was be within 3 laps. But anyway, I've had a great time. You know, that was a really, really good race. very unexpected. Some huge names gone out in there, which we really didn't expect. Radion being a real trouble corner. Some interesting strategy calls. It's had a bit of everything, really. A lot more DNFs than anything else, but it's had a bit of everything, and a fantastic job by Yannick to take the lead there. But again, a Minotaur 1, 2, 3. I'm sure Nikos and the Red Archer guys will be happy with that.
So we now have, well, after the interviews, we will have the summer break. Unfortunately, that means we will have to wait quite a long time for the next Super League action. That will be the Italian Grand Prix on the 8th of September. But the good thing about that is that despite my holiday coming up, I am not going to have to miss any. So good stuff. And that will be, of course, at the Monza circuit, where overtaking will be not hard to come by. It will be abundant. It's the Temple of Speed. You've got slipstream, you've got DRS zones, you've got hard, heavy braking zones, and that one is going to determine who has the best racecraft rather than necessarily just speed. Singapore still to come, as is Japan, Mexico, and then the championship finale at Brazil, which we're hoping will be as good a race as it was last year and as close a championship fight. The trouble is, though, the championship leader, Yannick Bock, is now over a win's worth of points ahead of everyone else in this championship. So it's all going to be about who can catch Yannick Bock now, and if anyone can stop him from running away with the championship from this point. I say running away with it, though. He's only got 2 victories in this championship. That shows you just how consistent he has been. No interviews just yet, no one coming in. So in the meantime, Ryan, do you have any idea who you'd pick for driver of the day from that one?
Driver of the day. Oh, flipping heck. Sandeep Singh for me.
Yep, I was just thinking that. Sandeep Singh's got to be up there.
Low percentage engine, stand-in driver in a car that he hasn't driven this year. Top 5. I mean, obvious.
I think the options are, Yannick Bock, of course, is always one of the best, if not the best, because, of course, these cars very equal in performance. They're all identical chassis. The only things that are different are the developments that they put on the cars throughout the course of the season, and then the setups. So to win race in Super League, you have to be possibly the best. So he's got to be up there. Thomas Harvey, amazing performance from him. Sandeep Singh, standout performance, his best GPVWC result from all the way back on 18th on the grid, finished 5th. And plenty of other drivers up there who deserve shout-outs as well. Both the green stripe cars in the points. So first and foremost, we are going to talk to Matthias Moos, who may be a little disappointed there after losing 2nd position on the final lap of the race. Matthias, how do you feel?
Hello. Yeah, you are right. It's a bit disappointing, but sadly I had no push to pass left. That was a bit shit.
Okay.
To use too much in the middle of the race to overtook some alternate strategy runners, and that cost me too much, sadly.
That's a shame, but even so, that's a podium for you, and podiums are nothing to be sniffed at. What did it take to get that result today?
Yes, I'm pretty happy. I think I was thinking it will be a difficult race for me, because I saw for the race and the official practice that our setup is not that much powerful on the straights, but it was handleable, and with this new build, the tires have a bit different behavior, and so this was great to have a bit more downforce tonight. Yeah.
The trouble with that, though, is that if you're struggling for straight line speed here, Monza is going to be difficult. So I presume you're going to spec very heavily into high speed with your setup for next time, right?
Oh, mate, I don't care about Monza. I'm so happy that we have a break now, and we can talk in about 4 weeks about it.
Yeah, I understand. Enjoy your break. Are you going anywhere special?
No, just taking a beer and go to sleep.
Well,
he
you
already,
deserve that.
works on a beach. He already works on a beach. He's always at a beach anyway.
you?
So
Yes, right. Congrats to you, right, Daniel? Good race from him.
no, thank you. It was
Okay,
it
well,
was a very good race.
before
Yeah.
you go, Matthias, we don't seem to have any other interviews, so if you want to stick around for a bit, you can. Ryan, do you have any questions for our third place finisher?
No, it's not really a question, more of a statement. I think Matthias will agree. In the past, his biggest issue has been qualifying. He seems to have sorted that out the past few races, and I mean he's getting podiums. So really, really good effort today, mate.
Yes, thank you. I was not having the best quality, to be honest. That's what was more possible, but yeah, it's so important to start inside the top 6, and I'm happy that this year is a bit better for me, and another podium this year. Tomorrow I will be more proud than yet.
Yes, good stuff, Matthias. Okay, congratulations and enjoy your break.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Good night.
I'm surprised no one's thinking about Monza just yet. I certainly am. Anyway, yes, it doesn't look as if we're going to get anyone else in unless they come in the next few seconds, because the interview room surprisingly vacant today. I expect everyone's just tired out after that race. It's very very hot in certain places of the world right now, and that was a very physical race. So I'm not hugely surprised, but whatever the case, it doesn't look as if we're going to be speaking to anyone else today. But what a race that was! GPVWC Super League always delivers, as does the circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And congratulations to Yannick Buck, who's now on a 6-podium streak, including 2 victories. He will keep that momentum heading into the summer break. The next time we'll see GPVWC action is a little before the Super League returns. We will have let me get the calendar up real quick. We'll have the Formula Sprint 2 on the 30th of August. That's the day after I return from holiday. Gosh, I'm going to have to practice hard on that day. And then, of course, the next time you see Super League will be on the 9th of September. Sorry, the 8th of September, which is, of course, at the Italian Grand Prix. From me and Ryan Elliott, and also broadcast manager Szymon Frelik, it's goodbye.